Hello and welcome to Impactability, the Nonprofit Leaders Podcast. This is a show that explores the landscape of the nonprofit organization, big and small, offers some incredibly helpful information and resources, and gives nonprofits a place to share ideas and get advice. Our show is sponsored by Sukup Strategic Solutions, offering a wide variety of services to help nonprofits maximize their impact. We're excited to bring you the stories and advice of leaders in the nonprofit sector to help you succeed in your nonprofit. So let's get started.
Welcome to Impactability, the Nonprofit Leaders Podcast. I'm Cheryl Sukup, and I'll be your host for today's episode. We're really especially glad you're here today because we have a wonderful nonprofit leader with us today. Her name is Elysia Dawn, and she is the CEO of United Arts Collier. Elysia, thanks so much for joining me today as a guest on the show.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's a pleasure to be here. Really appreciate your invitation and your kind introduction as well.
Well, Elysia, why don't you start just by telling us a little bit about yourself, and then afterwards, the mission of the organization you're currently serving.
As the CEO of United Arts Collier, I have to say how much it means to me on a personal as well as a professional level, and that is because I grew up in Naples. So I'm a native, and I was here until age 14. I grew up loving the arts from an early age. I'm told a story about how I got involved. I don't remember not being involved, to be quite honest, but had an older brother flipping through TV stations, and ordinarily I wasn't very vocal about what we landed on, but apparently this day was different. And he was flipping through, and there was some ballet that came on, and I yelled out, "Stop!" and was transfixed by what I saw, and then apparently proceeded to do that around the house for a couple of weeks, long enough that my folks said, I think we ought to maybe put her in some ballet classes. And they found some classes at Fleshman Park here and got me going at around 2 or 3 years old.
That's so young. Oh, Elysia, that's so young. I mean, I knew you were a ballerina, but I did not know. Well, I'm saying that before you even said it, but I didn't know you started so young.
Yeah. So I don't remember not dancing. And a lot of dancers have a saying where they say, you don't choose dance, it chooses you. And but that story will come into play a little bit later in a fun way. But going on from there, had great teachers in public school as well, and going to Artist Naples and other arts events in town. At 14, I needed to move away to pursue a higher level of professional training for my ballet career, because I did end up deciding that that's what I wanted to do. And so that led to training in places like North Carolina School of the Arts. And then I finished up my high school years at Miami City Ballet School and ended up with my first professional opportunity at the Washington Ballet, performing at the Kennedy Center, doing Balanchine Serenade. For those who know what that is, it's a beautiful ballet. And following that year, I had the invitation to join one of the top companies in the U.S., Boston Ballet, which was a dream realized to have that opportunity, dancing the big full-length ballets as well as the Balanchine ballets and working with new choreographers as well. Then I ended up with an opportunity while I was there that I should mention, that was one of those moments where something bad turned into something good. And I got injured, and I was really devastated that I had to miss out on the company performances. It's always a hard thing when your heart is so in the work that you're doing. But while I was healing, an interesting thing happened. Mikhail Baryshnikov reached out to our director and said he needed 2 dancers to do a piece with him. And he was looking for a couple of dancers from Boston Ballet, and I happened to be available and mostly healed at that point. So I was able to have an opportunity to perform then with Mikhail Baryshnikov, which was
what a dream come true, I'm sure.
It was.
It's such an amazing opportunity. I've seen the pictures of you together on Facebook, which was so nice to see.
It was definitely a surreal experience to be kind of warming up and chatting in the studios and getting to do that piece with him. And he was very kind. And then after my years at Boston Ballet, I ended up with an opportunity to perform in New York City with a company that I had my sights set on because they did international touring. So Complexions Contemporary Ballet was a place that I was able to do some really exciting contemporary ballet on point, but we were touring through Europe and South America, Israel, Cyprus, New Zealand. I mean, just all over.
I didn't know that. That's so exciting. I mean, being able to visit all those places doing something that you love so much.
It was definitely a dream come true. And also then facing the realities of the dream come true, which is a lot of hotels and airports and buses. And we did things where we'd tour 6 weeks at a time and things like that. But it was an extraordinary experience, and loved the work, and that bonding that you get with your fellow artists as well was special. And then I did unfortunately suffer an injury along the way after 10 years of dancing professionally, and I'm so grateful for the years I did get, but I had a career-ending injury, and had to take a big moment to reevaluate everything that I had worked for my whole life and wanted to do, and had to really figure out that next step, so to speak. And I ended up going to college. So I went to undergrad. I went straight out of, at age 17, became a professional dancer.
You left home at 14 to continue your training. I mean, wow, that's incredible. So then after you've had this amazing career that little girls all over the country, all over the world dream about, then you went to college.
Then I went to college, and I had to figure out how to hold a pencil again. And back then we were still using them. It was actually ballet that brought me to that school too. There was a colleague of mine that I used to dance with who started going to Columbia, and she unfortunately got cut from the dance program's annual dance event, and so the audition, she and a number of other professional dancers, so they decided to start their own. And she said to me something that really was interesting, and she said, well, now I'm the person I used to hate. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, now I'm the director, and I'm trying to make the best decisions that I can for as many people as possible. And it's really challenging in ways that I didn't realize. Yeah. And I said, oh, that is interesting. And I'd be curious to know more about what that's like. And she said, well, why don't you apply? And, we could really use some help, because we're putting on the shows, all the behind the scenes work, we're doing it, and we're on stage. So we're creating the whole production. And I said, that is interesting. And that was the impetus for me to apply. And I got in, and then I ended up joining their team, and I was doing PR to start, and I eventually took over the directorship. Then I founded our outreach program, and then I got really interested in partnering with some other schools. So reached out to Harvard and Princeton, and we started something called the Ivy Ballet Exchange, where we were just looking at these student-run groups, not through the dance departments, but just kind of what are your challenges and opportunities trying to make this happen on your own, and a little bit of finding our way through things. It comes with certainly some challenges, also good opportunities.
If I can interrupt for one moment, you are somebody that really excels at finding your way through challenges. As I've come to know you in Collier County, I know that about you. That's something that you specialize in.
That means a lot to me. Thank you very much, Cheryl. I know you've seen a thing or two around here.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm sorry. Please continue. So you're a director for this program, and you're and which location are you in now? Which city are you in?
New York City. Position? So this is
New York City, okay.
And I was at Columbia University, and directing the Columbia Ballet Collaborative, and then also the Ivy Ballet Exchange. And so at that point, during my undergrad, I ended up with a wonderful opportunity to combine some things that I really loved. I started in my academics trying to figure out what in the world I wanted to be when I grew up, since, this time around. And
Mm-hmm.
I really, took some time to try to figure that out. And then I went into some art history classes and found myself almost skipping out of them. I just felt that spark again, and I knew
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to pursue. So I did major in art history, but I also felt like getting something in business would be helpful as well. So I applied to a special program there where they allow some of the undergraduates to take the business courses through the business school, and was able to do that program so I could get a minor in business.
Mm-hmm.
And then found myself at the Frick Collection, which is a beautiful gem of a museum for those
Oh.
who are familiar with the New York City area. It's on Fifth Avenue and
Mm-hmm.
down the street from the Met Museum.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Henry Clay Frick's old home, Gilded Age
Oh,
home, turned into a museum. And um,
I
what
have
I was
not heard of
doing
that,
there,
but I will have to
it's
go visit that next time I'm in New York City.
please do. It's really
Uh,
something special. But they um, wanted me to do some performance programming for the museum. So what I ended up doing there during my internship was curating performance that would go complementing either their permanent collection or some of their special exhibitions. And that was a wonderful opportunity to really bridge this the study of art history with the performance background that I had. And loved doing that so much, didn't want it to end. And then the woman, Rika Burnham, who runs their education at the time, said to me, you ought to think about going to the Met Museum. And I thought that seemed pretty far-fetched, but, worth a shot. So I sent in my
with all
application and I
you've
ended up.
accomplished, that seemed far-fetched to you.
It
But I
did.
can't
It
imagine
really
working
did.
there because I just would I can get lost in that museum forever. I could stay there for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I don't know how I would
I
ever get any work done.
challenging, certainly. I feel like I spent 5.5 years there, and I feel like there's so much to discover there. It's really endless. But with the Met, I was shocked and grateful to end up having that internship opportunity open up to me after the application process and interview process. And they created a new position for me there, which was very exciting. And then that position grew over the years. But
I'm
yeah,
sure
five
they
and a
didn't want
half
to
years of,
let go of you once they had you.
oh, thank you. It was an amazing, very another sort of surreal, dreamlike opportunity. And I really was pinching myself throughout my time there. Those early mornings when you walk in and the empty Met, as they call it,
Wow.
when it's just like you and the paintings and all the lights aren't even on yet. And, um, being in those spaces with those treasures of human
Hmm.
creativity, just
Yeah.
spanning, centuries, it's something special. And then having this privilege of getting to curate performances in that space was something really special. I happened to be really right place, right time when these opportunities opened up. The team there at the time, we used to have 18 people in the division, and they didn't have a strong dance person, so they were
Mm.
looking for that. And I
Yeah.
happened to have that dance background that they were looking for,
It
and
was meant to
so
be.
it really felt like that, and I believe it was. It was. We
So
had an
how did you
opportunity
ever
there, and
end up back in Naples, Elysia, with this amazing, illustrious
oh,
journey
thank you.
of arts performances and being able to then transition into a new way of sharing your talent with the world. Now you're in New York City, you're at the Met. What would make you want to come back to Naples?
Well, there were interesting things happening while I was at the museum. I had some personal things happen where the head of the museum, the division there, was very generous in encouraging me to get my master's while I was working there. So I ended up getting a nonprofit management degree also from
Mhm.
Columbia while I was working full time. Um,
Very useful
but
today.
yes, it has come into good use here. Um, for sure. But that that led me to an opportunity to start thinking about doing some consulting work. So I actually was just about to spread my wings and start doing that. I had finished my master's and gotten a DBA to do Elysia Dawn consulting. And I had a number of artists that I work with who were asking me for help in various ways. And that was February of 2020.
Oh,
And we know what happened in March. The world
yeah.
changed
Mm-hmm.
significantly. And so
Sure did.
everything got turned upside down. And I ended up getting an invitation to dinner from a friend of mine who was an artist that was an artist in residence at the Met Museum for a whole year. She was actually the first female individual artist to have that distinction and the first choreographer to have that distinction at the museum. But she reached out and said, they were basing all of their budget was based on a ticket income. All of that revenue all of a sudden disappeared instantly and wanted to do a pivot and asked if I would come help her. So I agreed to help her remotely, which is what opened up the opportunity for me to be able to come back down here. We had about a year where things started opening back up. She had things like she was commissioned by Lincoln Center to be their first performance back after the COVID shutdown. And she had New York City Ballet. She had Martha Graham, so all of a sudden our events and in-person activities were really starting to pick back up. And so my flying back and forth became more and more frequent. And at a certain point made the decision that it would probably be best for me to find something here and stay here. But another amazing opportunity opened up. I had signed up for then called United Arts Council of Collier County's newsletters, and I saw a job posting and reached out and didn't get that job. They let me know that unfortunately that one was no longer available, but asked if I would instead take executive director because the executive director at that time was leaving, and she had recommended that they speak to me.
That's great. Wow. Now, how long have you been there now?
I've been there now since November of 2022.
Okay, great. So November 2022. And so tell me a little bit about the mission and how it intersects with this wonderful history that you have. Obviously, the arts are so important to you in a number of different ways, but talk a little bit about really what inspires you about this particular mission. What makes you really want to get up every day and do it all over again, day after day?
Oh my goodness, all of the things that we're doing, and it's a lot.
You really transformed the organization since you joined the organization. So
thank you. I'm inspired by this organization for so many reasons. And our official mission is to enrich lives through the power of the arts. And I certainly believe in that. I've experienced it in my life. I've seen it in other people's lives. And I want to be able to share it with others so that they can enjoy this as well. But I had noticed that this organization was working with the county on a strategic plan for this area. And I thought, that's interesting to me. Let's think about this from that sort of holistic level. And so I think that's something that's really special and important about this organization. We are the state recognized, county designated local arts agency for Collier County. And we are an independent 501c3, so we are fully a nonprofit. We don't report to any government officials, but we that does allow us to gain a little bit of funding through them. But we have our own board of directors, but we can work with all of the groups here. And that to me was thrilling because there is a world of opportunity open. And it made me think about, taking what I was doing at the Met Museum and a whole new level, right? What I was doing there was, we'd work with various wings and different areas within the museums, many different departments, and the American wing and Asian art and ancient Near Eastern and so on. But we as this, one entity could work with all of them, right? And partner with multiple groups at a time. And this organization is positioned to really have that sort of looking at this as an ecosystem and trying to be a source of listening to the community. What does the community need when it comes to the arts? How can we improve? And we are positioned to then take some action to address any community concerns and also identify areas where we see some gaps, and I'll certainly share some ideas that I had with our team and with the community there. But
so like you're really, I think of your organization as a convener. Like you bring everybody together around the arts. It's not just certain kinds of arts and not just certain people in the community, but you're like the convener of all the arts organizations that are willing to come to the table to collaborate and figure out how to meet the arts related needs of the community. Would that be an accurate way of describing it from a layperson standpoint?
Yes, thank you. And I would say convener and catalyst. We really
yeah, that's a good word.
sort of spark.
I like all the science words: ecosystem, catalyst. I mean, you're in the arts, but you're really like, I know one thing that you're doing is bridging the gap between, bridging the gap between health and health care and health needs and the arts. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd be really happy to talk about that. And before I jump into that specifically, I think maybe a quick backup to when I first came on board and started looking at, kind of to your question, what does this organization do? And as I was looking at the materials and talking to other people about it, the answer was just a lot, and how do we really condense it down, communicate it out? Some of the things that stood out were serving 2,500 students annually with free art programs and doing advocacy work, really working on various levels to secure arts funding, not just for UAC, but for the other groups here as well. But we thought it really boils down to three main points, and that's arts education, arts community building, and arts advocacy. So
arts community building. Talk about that a little bit. What does that mean?
Sure. So back to that convener part, I think another thing that happened to me when I moved back was I was wondering what's happening in all the arts since I've been gone. And again, that answer was a lot. And, how can I go and find out what each group is doing? Do I have to go to each group's website, or can I have this central calendar? Can we be a place where you can come to our website and find out everything you want to know about what's happening? And we made it part of our mission to be where we can house as much information on the arts as possible. So we are a resource, and that is part of the community building. And then that way we are connecting the people who want a class with where they can go to get it, or they want to rent a studio, and we can connect them with the people who want their studio rented, or things like that. But I would say that the community building is both online and in person. So we have the virtual component, which is building that community calendar, where we're sharing all of our events in a central location, but also we have our in-person events too, where we have a lot of free events. And that is something where we want to lower the threshold to entry, invite people in, experience. We'll invite a lot of our partner groups to either exhibit or perform, speak at various events, so that people in our community can kind of all get to know what's out there. And we can really shine a light on all the amazing work that's being done in the arts in this community, because we have extraordinary offerings here. And I'm not sure that everyone's aware of them and all of the wonderful things that they're doing. So sharing that out, that's part of our community building. And with the community in mind, we actually did some work on what our sort of a new tagline, something in how we describe what we're doing. And I think that given the kinds of art that we do, I wanted to make it very clear that it's not just visual arts, coming with the dance background and other art forms that we were presenting at the Met Museum. It's all the arts. So it's, these visual arts, which runs a wide range of what that includes: sculpture, painting, film, photography, so on, but also performing arts, dance, theater, music, opera, and so on. And then also literary arts, creative writing and poetry, and then culinary arts. There are all kinds of arts when we think of what the arts are. So we wanted to make sure that that was something that was all included. And then really important, I think, for this local arts agency, that we are not just an arts entity about arts itself. Really what we're here to do is serve the community. So then we put on this part that says for Olive Collier. And Olive Collier is that geographic as well as demographic sense of what Collier is. And so we have programs going in Everglades City and Immokalee and throughout the county, and also a wide range. So yes, we serve 2,500 students, but we also serve seniors, veterans, all different kinds of populations here. And it can range from people who are picking up a paintbrush for the first time to some of our top artists in the community that we work with. So, but it's really, again, that little word "for" that's so important. All the arts for Olive Collier. What do the arts do for us? And that is a really important part of our advocacy efforts.
Okay, and we're going to take a quick break right now. When I come back, I will have more wonderful conversation with Elysia Dawn.
One of the biggest challenges facing nonprofits today is securing grants. Where do I find information on grants? How do I write a grant? How do I submit the grant? And of course, the dreaded midnight deadlines. At Sukup Strategic Solutions, we have a team of expert grant writers with years of experience writing hundreds of grants for nonprofits just like yours. Visit our website today at sukupstrategicsolutions.com and schedule a free consultation about your grant writing needs. That's SOUKUP strategicsolutions.com. Let's work together and to bring in grant funding to fuel your mission.
Welcome back. I'm speaking with Elysia Dawn of United Arts Collier. Elysia, let's continue our conversation. Like, for me, somebody who has been a mom of a child with disabilities, like the all of Collier part is, sometimes different populations get left out and just don't have access for a variety of reasons. And, that idea of being inclusive of everyone and remembering that everybody, the arts are for everybody.
Yes.
All of Collier. I love that. All of Collier.
That's right.
So,
we really want it to be open to everyone. And so we have really amazing community partners, and they're not just in the arts. So we work with, for example, Starability, but we've got Naples Therapeutic Writing Center. We've got actually 20 educational partners and then 40 just community partners at the moment that we're working with.
That's
and
a
that really
lot.
helps to extend our reach, right? And with some of them, we're doing just straightforward art classes. Some of them, we actually take it to the clinical level of art therapy and what we're offering. I think it's a really important thing to see, and it's a beautiful thing to see how it impacts different populations here. And I think that really speaks to what the arts do for us on so many levels. We know when it comes to our health that just having arts experiences without even having to go to the therapeutic level, that it's shown to have positive effects when it comes to alleviating anxiety, depression, PTSD. It even plays a role in aiding suicide prevention. So there are some very real, very important aspects to what the arts can do for us. Things like the research on dance for Parkinson's disease. So we did a dance for PD, which is a program developed by Mark Morris in New York City. And one of our teachers has gone through the training and was able to provide that here. but amazing benefits to what the arts can do for us. And for that particular program, there's something like over 40 different published research articles on the benefits, including sort of the immediate relief of tremors and going into things like weekly classes, actually slowing the progression of the disease. So there are extraordinary research articles out there. We have quite a number on our website, again, being that resource for information, but I would encourage people to go and check that out. Many of them provided by the Director of Arts and Medicine at Shands Hospital, University of Florida, Shands Hospital.
Great partners.
We do. We really do. And we developed an Arts and Health Council because we are starting to do more in that arts and health arena. And we're arts experts, but we want to bring in our experts in the field of health to really participate in making sure that what we're doing is being held to the highest standards when it comes to what we're offering and also how we're reporting on it and all of the implementation. So
what's the biggest challenge you have with your nonprofit leadership role right now, and how are you going to overcome it? And it might not be fundraising, but it could be. It's often fundraising.
It is.
But what is the biggest challenge you have?
Well, I would say we have a mini but mighty team here, a really dedicated, extraordinary team who works from the heart here. And so this is very passion driven, but we are always looking for the support that we need to be able to take care of the local artists that we pay to go out and provide these programs, to provide the materials that are necessary to offer these free classes. You know, one of the things that United Arts Collier does that I think is really special is we send our artists and our programs out to meet our various partners where they are, so that the children in so many different locations can be offered these opportunities. I know for quite a number of them, travel is a barrier. So if we were to house this in one location, we have a lot of students and from all over the county who would have trouble getting there. But we're able to send people out there. But then that comes with mileage and all of these things, that the realities of being able to offer these programs. So I do think, and our board is extraordinarily supportive and wonderful in that regard too. So we're extremely grateful for all of that support. The foundations here who have been instrumental in making our work possible. But fundraising is always a challenge. I think it's sort of inescapable on some level for the nonprofit world, because that's the way our models are constructed. And we do try to diversify, right? So we are working on developing more of our earned revenue, as well as, but also there's the balance of the mission here, right? And so much of what we do is trying to provide things that are free, lowering the thresholds to entry, so that more people can enjoy what we're offering, and working with offering these things free to our partners. So we really are looking to get a lot of support to make that possible. And then facing challenges when we look at sort of the public support, right? When we're looking at government support and seeing, for example, what happened last year with the state support for the arts being vetoed for the first time in our history, was an important moment for us. I think all of us in the arts field to look at how we are going to solve that in the sort of immediate sense, but also as we plan for our futures. So very grateful to see it returned this year. And for many groups, not as many as we would like, but certainly grateful to see it coming back. Finding that balance of where these streams are coming from, I think, is really critical. And
diversification, so that you're not dependent on any one, is such an important thing. How do you think? What would you give as advice to another nonprofit leader that's really struggling with that same issue right now of they just got the news that their funding that they have been relying on as sort of a backbone for their annual budget that got cut. Something that you never thought would ever get cut gets cut. What would you give them for advice? How do you get through that? Because you got
Such
through
a
it. You're
difficult
here today.
challenge.
Yeah.
Thank, thank goodness. But it's so different for every organization. So I think it's really sitting down and having those really hard looks and conversations at what is absolutely critical to your mission.
Yep.
What can you let go of? What can't you? And everything has to be looked at from that mission and monetary position.
Yeah.
And the pruning then, or whacking away at it, depending on how intense the funding cuts were, is, or whether it can even continue. I know, unfortunately, there were quite a number of groups that did not survive this, and I'm so sorry to see them go. And sometimes that is the right call if it's not going to be sustainable, and that's a very real consideration as well. But if you are able to continue to really look at how you can tighten your belt for a period of time and hope to communicate the value of what you do, what we do matters, what it looks like when we don't have those things, and also look for creative opportunities to partner. And I think that this is something that in this community, I'm really grateful to see the openness, the willingness, and actually the desire to partner here, because we're able to extend our reach when we're working together on things that we couldn't do on our own, we can do together.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an important, being nimble, and also identifying creative new opportunities. And
you do that really well.
Thank you. And it
You
can seem kind of
you and your
counterintuitive.
organization, you guys are really always finding those creative ways to collaborate and partner and new opportunities to try new things, which is incredible.
There are two big projects that we're working on, and one of them is called the Collier Arts Archive. And that one really is speaking to a lot of partnerships and participation. And what this project is really asking, this goes to that all of Collier idea, and actually even before Collier was Collier, looking at how did we get to where we are today in the arts? Who are the people? What are the things that happened? And what are some of the really fun, interesting stories? What makes us special here too? What makes us not New York? Why should we all want to be here? I want to be here, but can we articulate why? What's unique? And we're not Miami, and we're not, but these places are all great, but so are we. And what is it about us that has its own special, unique flavor to what it is that we do here with our arts? And I want to be able to really unearth and celebrate our full history and create this as an archive so that it's another resource to the community, for you, me, everybody else, but also academic resource as well going forward, that this can be a real base for information. Now, this project was kind of a fun idea that came about as I was trying to learn more information about this organization itself. And one of the things I did was ask my folks about how much they knew about it. And they were saying, well, my dad said, well, my law partner, Dick Grant, was on the board back in the 80s. Why don't you go talk to him? And he was kind enough to grant me some time to talk about this. And in that interview, he said, who you should really talk to is the founder of the organization. And I said, absolutely. Who's that? And he said, Debbie Clementi. And I said, my first ballet teacher when I was 3. It's the same person. The person that I took my very first ballet classes with was the founder of this organization.
Wow, that is so incredible. That's a great, circular reference coming right back to the beginning. Wow.
Right. It was one of those,
Yeah.
I had to scoop my jaw up off the floor. And then,
So did you have a chance to talk with her? Were you able to go and kind of get that whole history from her perspective?
yes. So it was so much fun. Gulf Shore Life had just done a really nice article on my returning home, and
Mhm.
she actually saw it. And I had mentioned
Oh.
her in it, and mentioning my love of the arts growing here in
Hmm.
my hometown. And she got a hold of my dad, who got us connected. We went out to grab lunch at Waterside, and it was so fun to reconnect. She handed me this stack of programs from 1980 to 1989 with all
Wow.
this history in it, and it
Hmm.
was fascinating to see all the work that they did back then, some of the
Hmm.
fantastic 80s ads that are in those old programs, who was involved, and really get the story from her about why was this started? What were things
Hmm.
like back then? What was the ecosystem then? Because we didn't have a lot of the places that we now have, and I feel like I may take for granted. It was different,
Yeah. Yeah. It was
and
really, really different back then. In the 80s, oh, very
yeah,
different. You didn't have Gulf Shore Playhouse. You didn't have Artist Naples.
no,
You didn't have a lot
neither.
of what we take for granted today.
Absolutely. And I asked her why she started this organization, and she said, "Well,
Yeah.
I
What'd
was
she say?
teaching that class,
Hmm.
multiple classes actually at Fleshman. She had about 80 students in all of her classes, and she said, she'd come from a family that enjoyed and appreciated the arts, and that was part of why she wanted to offer those classes here and teach ballet. But then she thought, here I am teaching these classes, but has anyone here actually seen a ballet?" And she
That's a
asked,
good
and
point.
not a hand went up. And
Oh.
and she said, that's not right. We need to do something
Hmm.
about that. So she and her family and others got together and decided to start flying people in. So among the first artists that they brought in was Patricia McBride, a famous Balanchine ballerina from New York City, a
Wow.
ballet, and
Hmm.
she performed at the Lely stage. And I think they had to build
What?
out the stage a little bit for her. And anyway,
Huh.
they thought, well, this is a nice thing. Let's do more of this. And they expanded the kinds of offerings for what they
Mm.
were bringing in, music and voice and theater. And that was what started off back then. It was called the Naples Fine Arts Society,
Oh, wow.
which
That's so
eventually
great.
became the Fine Arts Society of Collier County, and then eventually the
Mhm.
United Arts Council of Collier County, and now United Arts Collier. And
Wonderful.
she's
That's
around,
great.
which
That's
is
so
really
great that
fun.
you were able to connect with her like that.
Oh, it's so much fun. And we were both kind of pinching ourselves. And she said, I can't believe little Elysia has taken over the organization that I started. And it's so much fun. It's a bit wild. I can still
That has to
hardly
be
believe it.
so gratifying to her. Like that's where you
So,
look back on your career and all the things that you set out to do, all the hard work and the hours of labor and maybe sacrificing. You could have spent your time doing one thing, but instead you chose to serve your community.
we're actually going to be honoring Debbie at this year's gala,
Oh,
celebrating our 45th
oh,
anniversary. So that will
oh,
be
that's
fun. I'm
amazing.
sure we'll get there are some very funny stories that she has about some of the early years. Maybe she'll share a few with us at
Oh,
that,
that's a
but
treat.
leave those for her to tell. But in the Collier Arts Archive, there are some wonderful stories to tell in there too, and things I want to dig into because I'm curious about things like, for the centennial, there was this fantastic photograph that I think many of us saw, where there were some people in their lovely white clothing sitting on the pier from around the 20s. And I first saw this at Palm Cottage. I was up on the
Oh
second
yeah,
floor, walked past this photograph, and
yeah.
I had to do a double take because behind them was a sign that said, "Please keep fish off the dance floor." And I thought, did I read that right? Let me take another look. No, sure enough, it says, "Please keep fish off the dance floor." And I thought, now that's interesting to me. So
Mhm,
all of a sudden, I'm realizing that the pier was a place where there was music and dancing. There were
mhm,
arts on their pier. And
mhm.
how fun to imagine. And That's the kind of thing that I would sure love to see recreated.
You mentioned to me something about a dance festival. You're today bringing people into the community so that our local community can experience dance in a new way. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. So, as I was going through all of the Collier Arts Archive material, we're going to partnering with our arts organizations, our historical societies, donors, artists, all of these people. I was thinking about how rich and wonderful the ecosystem is here. But one thing that I haven't seen as much progress in as I would like to is dance. And,
That's true.
I had to leave home because there wasn't a high level of professional dance in this community. And so it was hard leaving at 14, not going to lie.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly want to have to leave, but I needed to if I wanted to become a professional dancer. And so I'd love to see a community here where that's not the case, that we have more dance offerings here, that this is one of the strengths of the arts in this community. And so, we're not in a position, and it's not to create a new dance company necessarily, but what could we do that would help facilitate what I am identifying when I look at, what other communities and what their offerings are, and how do we make this an important destination point for our community pride, and also for visitors as well to want to experience our arts. Dancing in different locations over the years, I've met quite a number of dancers, choreographers, particularly those in the Northeast, said things to me when I moved back down here and was coming back to beaches and palm trees and other things. And they said, like, oh, that's nice. We're going to miss you up here. But, if you ever do something down there, don't forget me, particularly if you do it in winter, right? Call me. And so, from my years at the museum and within the professional dance world, when you get to a certain level, it's just pretty tight knit. And so I thought, well, this could be a nice thing to do. Let's do it. We started it off. So we had our first festival in February. So I called up a few friends, and so we had dancers come in, and teachers and choreographers come in from all over. And we had wonderful people like a principal dancer from the Norwegian National Ballet. And also we had teachers from Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater. We had just an incredible lineup of the world's best being brought right here.
I wanted to ask you one more question today. What is one piece of advice you'd offer someone just starting out in the nonprofit sector today?
Something that I was told to follow your heart. And I think that's something that has to be done with open eyes and open ears, and really trying to see how you can best be of service to your community here. What is it that people want or need? And then bring your heart, bring your ideas, and contribute that. And I think that the more of that we have, the better off we all are here.
I love that. Bring your heart. That's really good. That's a really good one to remember and share. All right. So where can listeners find you online?
They can go to www.unitedartscollier.org. We also have a presence on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. If you want to find us on our socials, we love that too. But also you can reach out to our team, reach out to me. We've got our contact info on the website as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today, Elysia.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. It's such a pleasure always with you, and appreciate this opportunity.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We love to hear from our listeners, so please reach out and let us know what you liked and what else you'd like to hear. You can find our email address and links to our social accounts in the show notes. If you enjoyed hearing from today's guest, we encourage you to reach out and connect with them. See the show notes for their contact information. To get more great content in your inbox each month, sign up for our newsletter at impactability.live. That's impactability.live. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. That way you'll get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. Finally, we'd be grateful if you would give us a positive review or a rating so that your peers in the nonprofit industry can find us as well. From all of us at Impactability, thanks for listening and thank you for all you do to make the world a better place